All right, so I'm so excited to have the chance to speak to all of you today. And like Steve said, I want to talk to you today about youth. I want you to change the way you view young people, and I want you to change the way you view your own ability to impact their lives. And finally, I want you to walk away from this event with clear, bold ideas of how all of you can make a difference in the lives of young people. What would the world be like if everyone saw young people as having the capacity to positively impact their entire community, rather than seeing them as troublemakers or statistics? I'm going to tell you a story about what happened when some very special people in Portland, Oregon did just that. But first, we're all going to be doing a lot of listening this afternoon, so let's take a few minutes to get moving. If any of you are teachers or you have ever tutored a young person, please stand up. Teaching is one of the most effective ways to change someone's life, but right now, the dropout rate is higher for teachers than it is for students. We can all do something to step in and help. Next, if you registered to vote before your 25th birthday, please stand up. By making yourself eligible to partake in the most basic of political activities, you're well on your way to becoming an engaged citizen. Less than 3/4 of youth ages 18 to 24 are registered to vote, so congratulations on having been a part of that group. Now, stand up. Sorry to keep you standing. Stand up if you volunteered within the last month, or if you've done service learning within the last year. You can also stand if you were ever involved in student government, and especially if you're going to participate in Global Youth Service Day this weekend. Everyone should be standing by now, hopefully. Today, all of you are learning how to stand up and take action and make a difference in your community. So pat yourself on the back for that and thank your neighbor for their hard work. There's no magic number of hours or list of activities that signify when someone is civically involved enough. Whenever I have to explain how much it takes to make a good citizen, I usually respond with some version of Justice Stewart's quote regarding obscenity. I know it when I see it. You are the best judge of what you can do. The trick is just to stand up and start doing it. We are here to get up and change the equation, but what in the world does that mean? When I hear the word change, I think of our Bill of Rights, Children and Youth. This document is the first of its kind in the nation, a Bill of Rights written by young people, for young people, and adopted by both the City of Portland and Multnomah County as an official policy guiding document. This event and this document changed my life and made me hopeful for the future of Portland and all young people. It was formed out of meaningful partnerships between youth, adults, government, and the community as a whole, and it continues to shape these relationships and create new policies. But before I tell that story, I'd like to take us on a brief tangent. In my high school anthropology class, we studied a Southeast Asian mountain tribe called the Hmong. For any of you who have read Ann Fadiman's book, The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down, this may sound familiar. And for the rest of you, I really recommend the book. Anyways, the second chapter is called Fish Soup. Ann Fadiman explains the Hmong way of storytelling by using an example of a Hmong student asked to give a 5-minute presentation. He then spends 45 minutes teaching his class how to make fish soup, starting at the very beginning by explaining how to make the tools needed to catch the fish. Fadiman jokes that many Hmong stories started either the first or the second beginning of the world. And I don't have time to take us quite as far back as creation, but we're going to do a little fish souping. In the beginning, there was the Youth Advisory Board. For our purposes, the beginning is 1996 in Portland. These youth did community-based service learning and advocacy around youth issues. They became the Multnomah Youth Commission in 2001. The group was created because a few high school students wanted to say, but the adults who listened to them and worked with them to institutionalize the group were also vital to the process. Next, along came the Youth Innovation Fund, one of 8 youth philanthropy boards created around the country to address the root causes of community issues by giving money to other activist teens to solve problems like teen pregnancy. I joined Portland, Oregon's youth board as a 7th grader in 2003. If my 7th grade teacher had not mentored me and given me an application for the Youth Innovation Fund, I would not be here today. Small acts can have a huge impact. With the Youth Innovation Fund, as with the Youth Advisory Board, adult support catalyzed youth activism. By understanding this backdrop for youth voice in Portland, we can better interpret what happens next. You need all the ingredients to make fish soup, not just fish. After Mayor Tom Potter was elected in 2004, following a candidate forum held by the Multnomah Youth Commission, he began a tradition of starting Portland City Council meetings with testimony from a young person. I was a city council kid in 2005 and talked about service learning. Changing the way government works does not have to be a long, bureaucratic, headache-inducing process. It can be as simple as asking a child for their thoughts. But you don't have to stay small. What's better than asking one youth for their opinion? Asking 100 youth. And that's exactly what Mayor Potter did in May of 2005 when he held a forum to hear from 100 youth about their rights in their own words. This is where the story of our Bill of Rights, children and youth would have started if we hadn't been fish souping. All public officials have the opportunity to allocate staff and funding to young people, but sometimes listening is as important as funding. We can all change the equation by electing officials that understand that good citizens, including the very young ones, are the riches of a city. After the Forum on Youth Rights in 2005, a dedicated group of about 30 young people began to draft a Bill of Rights. 30 youth. It's about the size of a normal classroom, and this small group completely changed the equation of youth engagement in Portland. Some of the youth who wrote the Bill of Rights were members of the Multnomah Youth Commission or the Youth Innovation Fund. Others got involved through their elementary schools or different community organizations. But all were passionate about their rights and their voices. By June of the following year, these young people had developed a Bill of Rights that was presented and ratified at a youth convention attended by about 500 young people from all over the city. After the ratification, the final version of this youth-created document was presented to both the Portland City Council and the Multnomah County Board. After the commissioners had voted, youth ripped tape off their mouths, symbolizing their new voice in government. 5,000 young people were involved in the creation of the bill, but equally important to remember are the dozens of adults, like yourselves perhaps, who brought students to the convention, encouraged their children, or ran for office on a platform of breaking down barriers to engagement. This never could have happened without them. With civic activism, you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen. The adoption of our Bill of Rights, Children and Youth, led to some immediate changes in new programs, like the Office of Youth Violence Prevention, Parks and Recreation Teen Programming, and the Youth Planner Program, which ensures Portland's future leaders have a say in Portland's future. It took time for the results of these programs to be felt amongst Portland youth, but just like planting trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit, investing in young people will benefit the community in the long run. In May of 2007, Portland increased its investment in youth by hiring its first 2 youth planners, myself and another young person, Ernesto Dominguez. Having 2 full-time youth employees sends a strong message that the city is serious about listening to youth. This job exposed us to the ins and outs of local government and gave me 7 months to see what kind of an impact a young person could have on the lives of Portland youth. Once again, fish souping helps explain this story. If there had been no Youth Innovation Fund or no Youth Advisory Board, the Youth Bill of Rights might not have been created. Each ingredient and small step matters. The first article of our Bill of Rights, Children and Youth, is Youth Voice. That's where it all starts. Just as the First Amendment in the U.S. Bill of Rights protects free speech, the first article of the Youth Bill of Rights protects youth voices, thus ensuring the rest of our rights have the chance to be heard. From this simple act of speaking up springs new ideas, learning, meaningful partnerships, hope, and change, but only if you listen. There's something intoxicating about telling the mayor of your city what you think and then seeing him or her take action to carry out your dream. It's even more amazing when you get to work with their staff every single day to accomplish your goals. I've always loved school, but during junior year of high school, it was getting to go to work after classes that made me jump out of bed each morning. Just imagine what your community would be like if all young people had opportunities like this. When my 7th grade teacher handed me a Youth Innovation Fund application, she handed me a world of possibilities. I used to be shy, really shy. I stand before you today as a confident, vocal, engaged young woman because when I had ideas, adults listened to me. But we have to remember that not everyone has that opportunity. I'm the only young person speaking at this event, and out of 6 speakers, I'm the only woman. If you count the videos, we're 2 out of 9, which is better because then we're on par with the Supreme Court. So I guess we're doing all right. But we have to remember that our communities will only reach their full capacity when everyone, regardless of age, gender, gender presentation, sexuality, national origin, language, skin color, anything, can have their voice heard. Luckily, the Multnomah Youth Commission as a whole did have its voice heard, even though individual members faced many barriers to engagement. In September of 2007, the Youth Commission was designated as the official youth policy advisory body for both the City of Portland and for Multnomah County, and youth liaisons were established between every office of both the city commissioners and the city council and the county board members. At this point, the Youth Commission took full ownership of our Bill of Rights, Children and Youth, but contributions of staff and other adult leaders, youth planners, and elected officials still play an important role. By this point, the soup had been cooking for quite some time. Many ingredients had been added by the Multnomah Youth Commissioners and the youth planners. Careful stirring by youth and adult leaders was spreading the aromas throughout the city, and more people were getting hungry for change. In other words, we got very busy very fast. Everywhere we turned, there were new projects. A youth media crew, youth candidate forums for local officials, youth budget priorities, advocacy for school-based health centers, youth grants to help implement the Bill of Rights, and more. In January of 2008, when I was done working for the Youth Planner program, I joined the Youth Commission, which in many ways was more demanding than the paid job had been. Remember, volunteers are great. They can make huge changes. The Youth Bill of Rights is unique in that it offers everyone an issue with which to get involved. My passions lie with Article 1, Youth Voice, and Article 2, Education, but others might feel strongly about health, general well-being, family, home, and community, or recreation, which are the other articles of the bill. We are all motivated by different issues, and that's what makes activism such a rewarding experience, both for the individuals involved and for the community as a whole. By now, the Youth Commission had an explosively productive staff team to help manage the growing portfolio of projects and began to pull on many other community and government leaders for support. You could easily be one of those people who steps in to help implement a great idea. One of these new ideas is called Youth Pass. It was proposed by students at an underserved Portland high school and relates to the education and recreation sections of the Youth Bill of Rights. It's quite straightforward. Provide free bus passes to all middle and high school students in the city of Portland and Multnomah County. We were able to cook up a plan to implement this idea using ingredients like Oregon's business energy tax credit. Not all communities have the same exact ingredients, but everywhere, listening to students with ideas and helping them act on those ideas can change the equation. Youth Pass took a lot of hope. The first meetings with TriMet, our transportation agency, were very difficult. Some young people were so frustrated with the process that they stopped coming to those planning meetings. But eventually, more partners got on board and provided the Youth Commission with letters of support and words of advice. Everyone has something to contribute. Now, all 13,000 high school students in the Portland Public School District can ride the bus, light rail, and streetcar for free. Picture each of this room having, 300 kids, and each of them getting on a public bus each morning instead of getting into a car. My own morning bus ride was often my favorite part of the day. I got to catch up on homework, chat with friends, sip, reflect, get a great view of the city, and feel good about helping the environment. At first, the spreading of bus passes was slow, but the spreading of hope is fast. I can't count all the young people who have come to the Youth Commission or City Council or the school boards saying how much it would mean to them to get the Youth Pass. Hearing stories from youth who have gotten the pass is the most moving part of this work. There are students who no longer have to choose between a meal and a trip to school. And since the pass is valid 24/7, youth can participate in sports, jobs, volunteering, and other activities, all using their Youth Pass. The benefits to the environment are clear too, since youth ridership increases at schools with the pass, keeping more cars off the road. There were even residents of a local high school who called to ask what the city had done to make all the cars go away, since there were so many new free parking spots. Furthermore, students are eager to get involved with the Youth Commission now that they've seen the impact our work can have on their lives. A few young people, helped by a few adults, can inspire so many more to take action. While transportation was the issue that directly impacted the most youth, it wasn't the only area in which this model of youth-adult activism succeeded. The School-Based Health Center Committee conducted research at different area schools, and that research was utilized by the county to improve privacy and services at all these health centers, and they used the information to get a $50,000 grant and start a partnership with United Way. Don't let yourself get scared by highly professionalized issues like healthcare. A few young people who listen to some other young people can greatly improve programs like school-based health centers. Young people in Portland also worked hard to preserve funding for programs that were already running well, such as the Youth Planner Program and Parks and Recreation funding for teen-specific programs like a Teen Idol competition. In a budget cycle where $5 were asked for every $1 available, youth got all their priorities funded by sending daily YouTube videos to members of City Council, in which each young person who cared about these programs got to tell their stories. And like I said, one of the programs saved by this innovative effort was the Youth Planner Program. Although there are only a handful of staff in the program, most of whom are young people, they are responsible for engaging 25% of the city's population. Young people are affected by policy just as much as adults and deserve a space where they can be heard. So why does this story matter? Because what is happening in Portland can happen anywhere. Fish souping allows us to see the big picture and put everything in context. This helps us learn better, serve better, and apply lessons to other communities. You could all start a Bill of Rights back where you live. What started 14 years ago with a few concerned teens grew into a network of youth programs collaborating to change the way the city and county works. Every community will have different ingredients, but each can cook up something amazing if they truly engage young people. What makes our Bill of Rights, children and youth so special is that it is truly ours. It was created by youth, for youth, and most of the work to implement the Bill of Rights has also been led by youth. But we can't forget that adults played a vital role. We would not have accomplished the things we did without support of adult staff, politicians, teachers, and parents. 2 years ago, Barack Obama told a crowd in Chicago, "We are the ones we've been waiting for." I repeat these words today because when this event ends, it's up to all of us. What will you promise today to make the world a better place? Will you volunteer in a school, hire youth planners for your organization, or maybe even run for office? I can't wait to hear what you all come up with. Thanks, everybody.